Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and I just want to preface this video with a couple of things. First of all, when I'm talking about free healthcare, I'm not talking about the idea of generally universal free at the point of service healthcare. That is not what I am describing. Universal healthcare programs are something that I advocate for, and something that I think would be greatly preferable to the situation I'm describing in this video. Secondly, even if you are feeling a bit upset about your healthcare options in your country, you probably shouldn't make a YouTube video while you're in your car driving. Even if you don't look at the camera that much, in this country, if I were to get into a car accident, I would not only be physically but financially ruined. So it's just not a good idea.
And today I am going to continue providing mutual, somewhat medical aid to the community by way of telling you about my experience with the healthcare system. In my previous video, I talked about the fact that in order to get proper medical care for my sprained ankle, I mentioned that thanks to government stimulus programs that currently exist, most people in most places in America can now get quote-unquote free health insurance that the government is paying, at least in my case, about $450 a month for, to United Healthcare, in my case specifically, but any number of the companies that they work with. And for that, I am getting a bronze level plan, which is, I guess, the shit tier. They don't want to call it the shit level plan, but it is the shit tier, and I guess bronze is as close to looking like shit as they can get. And in my previous video, I warned that even the things that they had promised me weren't necessarily better than what I might be able to get myself with a little bit of extra legwork or a little bit of extra hassle. And look, I understand certain people don't want to take that extra time, extra paperwork, extra hassle every time they go and see a healthcare professional. A lot of people want a backup for critical injuries and stuff, and that's why they have healthcare. I get it. But after having 3 doctor's appointments and an x-ray now, my bills are currently, and I think this could go up because I have a bill that's still pending and an appointment still to make. But my current level of bills is a little over $700. And honestly, if, for most people hearing about American medical bills, that probably isn't that big of a number. I would have imagined that number would be higher. The thing that gets me, though, is that I have health insurance now. And health insurance paid $0.000 on my x-ray. I think that they might actually chip in and cover part of the other $200, but the x-ray was about $500. I believe they're going to pay, I don't know, maybe $100 to $150 on the doctor visits, and I guess if they do what they said to me on the phone call, I'll only pay $50 for this specialist visit. They'll pay everything other than that. I've only visited my other doctor technically twice, so I guess I'm on the hook for $100 there. But even with insurance, even assuming that insurance is going to pay some of the bill that I'm looking at now, I'm still looking at a bill of over $600. And with something like a sprained ankle, you're potentially and probably and hopefully out of work for a while, which means you're even less able to pay for this. And again, I stress this is with insurance. And now I want to tell you about one of the most surreal, okay, I have had 2 conversations like this in my life that were incredibly surreal because of the profession of the person that I was talking to and what we were talking about. One was when I think it was the UNCG police department sent a person to sit in on the college Occupy meeting back in 2012. And a couple of us were like actually willing to talk to this guy in the hall. And we ended up having a conversation about how marijuana laws were completely absurd and how he felt bad having to punish people for them because he didn't feel like they deserved a punishment for just possessing marijuana. And it was just so surreal to have that conversation with a police officer. And, you know, many police officers agree on this. And I'm sure that the conversation that I just had with my orthopedic specialist is very similar. Because, you know, after I talk to the nurse, I start, you know, I haven't had healthcare in a long time. I don't know how fucking healthcare works in the modern day. And it has modernized quite a lot. Apparently, your doctors and stuff will communicate with you through an app called MyChart or a website, if you prefer. And I figured they would call me or send me a letter or something normal. Now, I'm a health boomer, is what I found out. So I'm checking MyChart. I'm seeing that my doctor's been trying to get in touch with me about things. I'm like, oh, this is how we were supposed to communicate. Oh, they just assumed I knew that because, you know, everybody who's had healthcare within the last couple of years probably knows that, but I haven't, so I didn't. And that's where I see my bills. And that's where I see that insurance hasn't chipped in a penny yet, despite their promise to, despite me giving my insurance card to everyone that I've seen. And I'm just looking at the price of the x-ray as my orthopedic specialist comes in. And he says, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm not doing great, man. I just saw how much they charged me for my x-ray. Insurance covered nothing. He's like, wow, that kind of sucks. And then we went and we talked about, you know, my ankle, the status of it, where I'm at. And stick around. I am going to share more mutual aid to add on to the medical advice I gave you previously. Because honestly, I told you more good things in that video than I have heard from both doctors that I've talked to. And both doctors that I've talked to backed up everything that I said in both videos, you know, including what I'm going to say in this one. So, honestly, you're getting medical level advice here. Like, you know, my orthopedics guy, like, he was scared for me a little bit when he found out that it took me a month to get a sprained ankle treated because of the healthcare system. He was just, like, afraid that I had done nothing in that time. And then I explained to him what I had been doing. He was like, oh, okay, good. Yeah, you're fine. That's, you know, we might have given you a little bit stronger of a brace, but yeah, it sounds like what you're doing was good. Keep doing that. In fact, keep using the brace that you're using for a little while longer and you should be fine. In addition to some physical therapy, like those are basically the two things. Blinkers are the other one. In addition to telling me to continue wearing the brace, keep it immobilized so it could continue to heal properly. Because I walked in not wearing a brace because it's so tight that it, you know, I want him to be able to see the natural swelling and not just where my ankle had been rubbed tight by the brace, you know what I mean? Or where the brace had kind of cut into my skin and made its own little marks and, you know. But I explained to him the brace that I had and he said that it would probably be better, just a little bit more secure if I got a lace-up one, even though he admitted that with how tight I was describing getting the other brace, it was good enough. I didn't have to buy a new one. But, you know, just in the future, if you want that maximum sprain protection, you should probably get a lace-up brace instead of an elastic clasping brace. But it's just so ridiculous that the government, on my behalf, is... Okay, yeah, so the conversation that we had walking out the door of his office and walking down the hallway to check out was ridiculous. It was on level with that conversation I previously recounted about talking to a campus cop. Because he's talking to me about how crazy our medical system is and how crazy insurance can be sometimes. And I was saying, like, yeah, I mean, my understanding is that they're, you know, allowing me to see you for $50 for this visit and that I saw my doctor for $50, but, you know, I expected things like x-rays to at least be partially covered or something or anything. And that if I didn't have insurance, there was probably a way that I could have got that partially covered. We start talking about the fact that sometimes in this country, because of all of the, like, ad hoc programs that people have put in place to try to help people who were under the insurance gap, if you look for those like community programs where it's the local providers or the community that are trying to help you, not the government, but really local support programs that are bridging that gap, sometimes you could do even better than paying $50 to visit someone. Specialists, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be a little bit harder. But, you know, my doctor was talking to me about his own personal experience getting a drug for his son. I forget exactly what it was. Let's say his son had asthma, and he was getting an asthma inhaler. And it ended up being more expensive on his insurance than it would have been if he was uninsured and came in and did one of the like Good RX discount plans, or, you know, one of those types of things, because there's so many of those that exist now. So, and like, ultimately, I think this cements in my head, I'm going to stick with the program just a little bit longer, but I might actually cancel it, because fuck United Healthcare at this point. You are doing shit for me. You are doing less to help me in my greatest time of need than my government, that our tax dollars are paying you, even when I'm not needing medical care. So even at my worst, now again, it's the government paying the money, not me, but even at my worst, I'm not getting enough use out of this to even justify what the government is paying for it. And there's definitely, hopefully, going to be a lot of months where I don't have any health issues at all. But beyond that, if I tried just a little bit harder to find community programs that support people who are uninsured, I could probably get better deals than I am getting right now, even though the government is paying a private corporation $450 a fucking month. That is a total of like $5,400 for me every year for not shit. I mean, yes, they are probably, once they get their heads pulled out of their asses, they will probably cover part of my office visits. And maybe they'll pull their heads far enough out of their asses to pay the extra, although I doubt it, and I've already apparently missed an early prompt payment discount of $80 because, in part, I didn't know that I was supposed to pay on my chart. I was expecting these people to give me a bill on the way out. Nobody did, so I thought everything was free for a little while, which made me think that my healthcare was awesome. And then I realized, no, it's not free. They're just billing me in a way that no one's telling me to look for, because everyone assumes that I've had healthcare sometime in the modern era and know these things, but I don't. Nah. So now I had to pay $80 more for that x-ray. Anyways, let's get to the useful part of the video though. So basically the ankle specialist confirmed that everything that I told you in my previous video is pretty much the right thing to do for a sprained ankle. Again, the hardest part is diagnosing that it is a sprain. If it is more serious than a sprain, you may need more help, and you definitely need to see someone about that. But ultimately, the orthopedic specialist confirmed literally everything, all of the predictions, all of the diagnoses that I made. My diagnostic ability was just as good as his in this case. Again, it would be cases of other things that he would be able to diagnose that I wouldn't as easily be able to, and I am still glad to have the peace of mind of having gone to a doctor. But dear God, I've spent so much money to ultimately have two medical professionals tell me things that I diagnosed with my own two fucking hands, my own two fucking eyes, and was able to get even better medical advice off of goddamn Google DuckDuckGo preferred search engine of choice. My previous video is better than the hundreds of dollars of medical examination and advice that I have received from the medical system so far. And that's at least a little bit frustrating. But there is one thing that I actually was kind of doing, not as much as I probably should have, but I was aware that I should be doing it, that I didn't talk about as much in the previous video. Because I talked about physical therapy a bit in the previous video, which is important because you're taking time off of walking that leg, and your muscles will eventually kind of lose the reflexes and the ability to walk if you stay off your leg long enough. So there are things that you want to do to keep those muscles reactivated. The thing I didn't mention in the video is that this is also kind of true of your tendons and your ligaments. And especially as your ligaments are healing, you want to keep them stretched and mobile and stuff so they don't kind of scar up and seize up. And I hadn't been doing as much of that because I hadn't really realized how important it was, but I was doing some of it. But basically you want to move your ankle in and out, side to side, and rotate it both clockwise and counterclockwise. Do that morning and night for as long as you have an ankle issue, really. And other than that, until there is really little or no discomfort or issues with range of motion, you should probably continue wearing that brace. But in addition to what I've said before, the actual ankle mobility physical therapy is basically the only thing that I have had to add after seeing two doctors and one specialist on the topic, which is incredibly frustrating, but also makes me feel incredibly proud that I can provide a video of such quality that it's essentially worth, at least to people with sprained ankle, hundreds of dollars. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I cannot diagnose your ankle as a sprain, but I can help you, figure out what a sprain is and if you probably have one. Again, I think I should say this, at least as a legal disclaimer, you probably should see a doctor. But once again, just to clarify and reiterate what I said earlier in this video, you may not need to get health insurance to do this. In fact, it may be less expensive for you to go at the mercy of your local community places. And yes, you may have to talk to 3 or 4 or 5 different providers to find one that's willing to work with the uninsured and willing to offer them a good price. But you can probably find one that would be even cheaper than what your options would be if the government was paying nearly $500 a month to provide you health care. I can't do that. I'm gonna wait for the red and to change. That's a big pothole. They need to fill that shit in. I'm not this Tahoe Premier that can just offer it through that shit and take this right turn. Maybe if this Mustang had moved over a little bit first, but no, it's in the center of the lane spot. I'm just complaining about traffic at this point. The video is over. In fact, I'm probably going to transcribe this, so you're not even going to see me recording this in the car. It's kind of pointless that I talk about this, but I am going to be putting out some more videos in the future about the books that I've been writing. They feel very practical. In terms, they feel more like a natural extent of my own political writing and more of a natural extent of this channel than anything I've written so far, because it's not couched in metaphor. It's more couched in parody at this point. And as a parody, it does have parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y, or, imperativeness to our modern reality. And by the third book, I think I'm going to have fun getting a little bit hyperbolistic as I start taking all of the seeds of the first 2 books and all the ways that the world is changing from what we expect, and then just have them kind of pile up on top of each other and to the point where you're like, wait, 3 books into this, am I in a cyberpunk dystopia now? Is this how it began? This is the origin story of a cyberpunk dystopia. Oh my god. But yeah, it's a fun series, and I look forward to finishing it. Now that I'm more confident in my diagnosis of my ankle, now that I've had a professional tell me that my diagnosis of my ankle was competent, I'm gonna go home, put my brace back on, and plan for a vacation for a little while. And then I'm gonna come back and write that 3rd book after I've had some time to reread the first 2 and let them stew in my brain. And during that vacation, I'm probably not gonna be making any videos for the channel, so see you in a couple of weeks. Fuck it, probably see you in a month, because I got a book to write after that, and then I'm going to work on getting them all publishable and edited, so I guess we'll see you in March. How about that? See ya in, let's say April. April, to be sure. Not too much pressure, but I may do some really brief updates in the middle to update people on book writing process, or to promote books as they become publishable in paperback. which as of yet, I still have a major revision to the first story to do before that is available in paperback. But they'll be coming soon, and I'll be happy to tell you about them when they do, because honestly, I gotta sell some books so that I can cover that goddamn X-ray.